Welcome back, Truth Seeker. I want to talk about some of the top headlines from November 3rd, 2019, including the protests around the world and people dressing up as the Joker. Talk about Jimmy Carter talking about his up-and-coming death, the firing of the McDonald's CEO, and the fire at an astronomy center in Ankara, Turkey. So, starting with the protest story, this was written Sunday, November 3rd, 11/3, like 113. Over the years, we've covered many stories relating to protests in 113. This is the latest. With the alphabetic order in Gematria, protest equals 113. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, protest sums to 76, like Joker. And the article written is about how protests all over the world, people are seen dressed up as the Joker. Of course, a character that many people can identify with in current times. If you haven't seen the film, it's about a man who grows up poor, he's abused, he's bullied, he has mental illness, he's on pharmaceutical drugs, and in the end, he goes after revenge, and he starts a movement of people who are inspired by him, protests. The film also introduces the idea of gun control. There's a scene early in the film where he receives a gun and he says, a person like me shouldn't have a gun because he has mental illness. And when you watch the film, if you pay attention to news, you realize that all of the ideas from that film are the same ideas that are circulating almost daily in the news, in the mainstream. Again, mental illness, gun control, pharmaceutical drugs, bullying. So the film is meant to highlight the issues of our time that the media wants us to focus on. And then you get a story like this. Protests around the world and people dressing up as the Joker, just like they do in the film. They give you this image from the article. What else is interesting about the date this was written? The film released October 4th, 2019. Remember, we covered why the film came out on this day. If you missed that video, go back and check it out. But from the release date of the film to the article was 30 days later. Remember, 113, November 3rd. 113 is the 30th prime number. So what a perfect day to write this article. And again, it just goes to show how the whole mainstream is well orchestrated, contrived, planned, and the stories we read every single day are part of numeric rituals. With regards to who's doing this, again, it's Freemasonry. I'll take you back to the Yellow Vest protest, one of many stories we've covered about protests in 113. From the start of the Yellow Vest protest to this story right here, which was about a Masonic lodge being vandalized by the Yellow Vest protesters. The Yellow Vest protest began November 17th. The Masonic lodge was it was burglarized and vandalized March 9th. That was 113 days later. Plus March 9th, 39, Masonry equals 39. Anyhow, notice the details they put in there. They talked about how it happened during the 17th straight weekend of anti-government demonstrations. And again, this was March 9th, a Saturday, just like how the article says Saturday. The article was written the day after. It was published March 10th. Scottish equals 103 and 113. But anyway, the 17th straight week, the protest began on the 17th of November. Mason equals 17. Modern Freemasonry began in the year 1717. Happened in Tarbes, which equals 43, like Masonic, like Lodge, like the month of March. So again, just one of many 113 protest articles over the years. If you go to my blog and type in protest 113, there's plenty more. One being canceled in Chicago on a 113 date because so many people were against Trump. Many others over the years. So that was that. And then you have Jimmy Carter talking about his death. He's the oldest living former U.S. president. Notice CNN has a headline. Jimmy Carter tells church service he is, and then they emphasize this part, absolutely and completely at ease, end of the emphasis, with death. The emphasized phrase absolutely and completely at ease equals 103, like James Earl Carter, his full name 103. Again, Scottish is 113 and 103. This article is written on November 3rd, Washington, D.C., where the presidents reside, named after the Scottish Rite Freemason George Washington. That phrase, absolutely and completely at ease, also sums to 158 like Freemasonry. 158 is a big number with the Jesuits as well because they were first formed on August 15th in history, 15/8. Jesuits, Scottish Rite, the powerful secret societies that occupy D.C. Consider November 3rd as the 307th day of the year, the day leaving 58 days remaining. Freemasonry, Rosicrucian Secret Society 58, in Jewish Gematria, Freemason 307. So you can't get a more Masonic date than November 3rd. It just can't be done. It is easily the most Masonic date in the calendar year. And it shows you, who Jimmy Carter belongs to. And again, the whole federal government belongs to this tribe. This story came 33 days after Jimmy Carter's birthday. 33, Masonry Federal Secrecy Order. Again, George Washington, the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. Masonry very much fixated on death. This article about Jimmy Carter, ready for his upcoming death. Wonder if he'll make it to 96. Freemasons 96. So then also you have the firing of the McDonald's CEO on this day, Steve Easterbrook. Notice CNN emphasizes a recent consensual relationship with an employee. And that sums to 232. So does Steve Easterbrook, 232. 232. And talked about this many times before. McDonald's, Burger King, they have a lot in common with Freemasonry. M is the 13th letter. BK, Burger King, is 2 plus 11. B is the second letter. K is the 11th. 2 plus 11 is 13. Another big number with Masonry. But again, this comes on the day, this very Masonic day. And by the way, McDonald's logo, the capital M, in every alphabet that has an M, that's the letter that the word Mason begins with. In every language of the world that has an M in the alphabet. Consensual relationship equals 325 and 127, just like Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 325 and 127. Again, Scottish is 113. And just to go back to a story we just touched on a moment ago, the vandalized Masonic Lodge during the Yellow Vest protests. Remember, the Yellow Vest protest began November 17th. November 17th. 11/17. I want you to see this. 11/17 is the 187th prime number, right? And 11 times 17 is 187. If you can't do that math in your head, it's very simple. 10 times 17 is 170. 11 times 17 is plus 17 more, so 170 plus 17 is 187. Ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 187 in the most pure cipher. Just like Washington, D.C. is 187, like George Washington's 187. So, on this very Masonic day, this very Masonic company, with their symbolism out in the open, especially when you know the code of letters and numbers, and you know what Masonry is all about, you realize that these are just rituals. This is the passing of the torch. And I don't know if this is a married man or what. I didn't investigate the story that much, but CNN kept this up on the front page all day, and it's easy to see the symbolism of it. And this time it's not a sexual assault or a rape. It's just a consensual relationship with an employee. And yeah, there's a lot to be said about that, but anyway, I'll just keep it there and just point to why you're reading about these news stories on this day. And then so many people were anticipating a great disaster in Seattle. I told people not to sweat that. It's just fear porn. But I said I won't be surprised if, something does happen in that day. It's a very special day in the calendar year. The Masons, they love 113, they love 58, 307's an interesting number as well. And what you did get on this day that's interesting is an astronomy center burned in Ankara, Turkey. And the name of that astronomy center equals 113. And remember, this is related to science, space. NASA was established on a date with 113 numerology, NASA, which is July 29th, 1958. Emphasis on 58. NASA is controlled by Freemasonry and the Scottish Rite. The building that burned looks like this. Isn't this interesting? Kind of looks like the Space Needle in Seattle. So that is interesting. But like I told people, don't sweat it. You'll be fine if you're in Seattle. These people, they probably will have rituals on this day. But, it'd probably be something a lot less minor than a whole city being destroyed as the fear porn was going out about Seattle. But what's interesting about Ankara, where this thing does look a lot like the Space Needle, is Seattle and Ankara share gematria overlap. 19, the number of chaos, it's 2019, and 44. This happened in the 44th week of the Gregorian calendar year. And in light of it happening on the day leaving 58 days left in the year, again, NASA established in 58, Science 58, Freemasonry 58, Secret Society 58, this was a science building. So it's probably, insurance fraud. But no doubt it's not hard to see who set the fire. Remember, Scottish Rite lodges, they have stars of David all over them. Have you ever heard that phrase before, Jewish lightning? It's an important one. Look it up if you haven't. But we'll leave it there for now. True Seeker, just wanted to make sure people were aware of these 113 headlines. Again, every single day. Rituals by the numbers. Don't let this knowledge scare you. Let it empower you. And all the channels out there that push fear porn, I would disregard those channels. It's not helping anything. All right, until next time, True Seeker.